We've obviously got the first of the World Cup warm-up games under our belt. Italy last weekend, and the lads were talking to Beirne, and unbelievable watch. If you're a rugby nut, you really will want to watch that with Beirne during the week about how to play prop. Essentially, it was a short story in that, and the depth chart. And so we're moving on to the second row now. I'm delighted to say that Mike McCarthy joins us on the line. Morning to you, Mike.
Morning, guys. Thanks very much. How you doing?
Flying, thanks very much. Yeah, so the squad is down to 40 now, and there's another 9 to be culled. And I was interested to get your thoughts from the off, because you were obviously one of those players who, pre-2015, at some point or another, the conversation was had, I don't know how that takes place, that you weren't going to be part of the initial travelling party. How was that for you, and how did that all come about at the time?
Yeah, it's a pretty horrible feeling, to be honest, and it takes a while to get over it. 2011, I did the whole pre-season. I think all 5-6 weeks of it. Absolutely flogged myself, trained really well, and then got called into a little meeting room in Carton House on the middle floor. I remember that feeling going up in the lift, like waiting to go and see the headmaster, and then you go in and you can just kind of tell from their body language, you get the sense that you're not going. So you just don't really know what to say. It's very hard to take, and you just kind of think all that work that's gone in, and it is tough to pick yourself up, but you have to. It happened to Scanlon and Alton Delan there a few weeks ago, but you have to pick yourself up and you have to be ready, because there will be injuries and there's a chance those guys can go. Because back to 2004 to 2015, then I did none of the pre-season, which I was hugely disappointed not to be in the squad, and then I ended up getting called out when Paul O'Connell had that horrific hand injury. So these guys that aren't, been told they're not going, they have got a good chance of getting a call out to the squad. Did you know when you were on the way up in the lift what was coming? I think I did, yeah. You get the sense. Yeah, you get the sense. You're always overthinking things, analysing things, and you're having little chats with your teammates. You're having little chamomile teas before bed, saying having a little conversation. So I think everyone, especially with this World Cup and the squad getting culled week by week, it's everyone's having those conversations, and everyone's overthinking about it. So, but I think it's great they've gone to Portugal. It'll give them a chance to refocus, get out of Carton House, and have a bit of sun, and it's a change of focus, change of scenery, which will be massively important when they're in the same place. They've been in the same place for so long. How did they deliver that news? Of you not going to the squad or going to Portugal? Yeah, no, not been in the squad. Well, they just, like I said, they just call you up to the meeting room in Carton House. That's how I got told. And what was the conversation like? If you're not in camp, it's just a phone call, and right. You see Joe Schmidt's name come up on the phone, and I've been there plenty of times, so it's not good news, and you kind of try and work out before the call comes in a few questions that you want to ask, but you never really get across what you want to ask as to and you always come off the phone frustrated, thinking, oh, why didn't I ask this? Should have asked that. But as I said, it's tough to take, but you've got to pick yourself up. And ultimately, it's like appealing a yellow card to a referee. It's like you ain't changing his mind one way or the other, right? Like it's you've got to try and establish, I suppose, in his mind that, listen, I'm annoyed about it, I'm frustrated, I want to be involved, but ultimately there's nothing you can do to impact the ultimate decision. Yeah, exactly. Certain lads will have a certain amount of credits from what they've achieved with the coaches in the past, and sometimes that can be frustrating, but I think as a player you always probably think you're better than you actually are, and I've maybe realised after I finished up, but you always think you should be going, you always think you should be number one, and just everyone's so competitive, and it is really hard to take. It's one of the hardest things to take, being told you're not going to a World Cup. It's a dream for some people to go to one World Cup, and to get the knockback, it's incredibly hard time. You're going to take us through your depth chart in just a second, but so you mentioned Alton Delan, he's obviously gone now, and so there are 5 locks left, so Ryan, Toner, Henderson, Kleyn and Beirne. I think he took 4 locks in 2015 and obviously swapped yourself and Paul O'Connell out when he was injured at that point. Does he take all 5 this time? Obviously some of them can cover different positions. Yeah, I think he'll take 4. But I mentioned last time that the strength and depth we've got since 2015. When you look at some of the guys that aren't going, Alton Delan, Quinn Roux, Gav Thornbury, Ross Maloney, the depth we've got now is absolutely incredible. But talking of the guys we have got, I think he'll take 4, and the big talking point is who goes between Beirne and John Kleyn. Now, for me, if it's a pool stage game, I'd like to see Beirne coming off the bench and doing what he did against Italy. I think he got 2 turnovers in pretty much 60 seconds. That can be a huge turning point for a team in the pressure cooker of the World Cup. If you're losing by 2 points and Ty comes on and has that impact, gets a couple of turnovers, it can change a game. If you're winning by a couple of points, it can be a massive pressure release if he comes on and gets a couple of points. But if it's a quarter final against South Africa, then maybe I'd like to see Jean Kleyn starting. In the Six Nations, maybe one area we lacked those games was Wales and England, where we lacked a bit of physicality, weren't winning the collision, and he's a guy who can completely change that. And I thought he had a great game against Italy. While sometimes you watch a game and think, he's not having the same impact as Henderson or James Ryan. He is a completely different player. He does the unseen work, the unseen graft. He's a bit of an Etzebet, an enforcer. He absolutely smashes the rucks. He clears the ball. Those couple of extra inches that those first defenders at the breakdown have to sit back. It makes a huge difference for the scrum half. He's then got an opportunity to snipe and make little breaks. It has a ripple effect, a positive effect on the rest of the team. So that's the big one, is who goes between those two. And for me, I think maybe Joe sees Tig more as a 6. Joe's always liked his kind of bigger, heavier, tight head lock going on in the past.
Well, let's have a look at your depth chart then, the 5 locks and how you rate them. James Ryan naturally top of the list with a score of 10. Ian Henderson at 9, Devon Toner at 9. Interestingly, you've rated Beirne ahead of John Kleyn 8 compared to Klein's 7.5. So you obviously see Beirne, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Mike, as a better player, but Kleyn perhaps fits in more to the squad that Joe wants to bring to Japan.
Yeah, just kind of, like I said, if this was based on the pool, I'd have Beirne's ahead of John Kleyn. If it was a quarter-final against South Africa, I'd have Kleyn ahead. But for me, the dead set, obviously James Ryan, I've given him a 10. All those players work incredibly hard, but I suppose James Ryan's like the Terminator. The amount of work he gets through with the tackles and the carries, getting over the gain line, winning those inches when he's running into heavy traffic, often front 5 forward defenders. He gets over the gain line, and that has a positive effect on the team. Hendy's a dead set with what he's achieved, and he's obviously leadership material now, captaining Ulster. And with Dev, we've seen what happens when Dev doesn't play. He is that set piece foundation. And one of the things that people probably don't see is, I say, that unseen work that has a ripple effect, a positive effect on the rest of the team. And, for example, with Dev, that's him standing at the tail of the line out in defence and forcing the opposition to have to throw to the front. That means when the scrum half passes the ball to 10, the ball's in the air a lot longer, and it allows the defence to get their line speed, get up in the attacker's face a lot quicker. So that's an example of a player having a positive effect on the rest of the team by doing some kind of unseen work. And then, so Ty coming off the bench, we've talked about his poach threat, his running lines. He runs incredible lines, and they are just 2 completely different players. And the only question for Beirne is he's probably the smallest of all the locks we've got. And, I'm not sure if I'm right here. I'm probably wrong, but is the size element a bit of a concern? He got his chance against Wales in the second row, and, we lost the physicality stakes there. We lost the collisions. But, maybe I think Joe does see him more as a 6. And what we'll get from Kleyn is that specialist tight head set piece foundation. He's a nuisance, and he'll have he'll match the physicality stakes.
So it sounds, by the way you're talking there, Mike, if the quarterfinal was tomorrow against let's say against the All Blacks, you're starting obviously James Ryan, and it sounds like Devon Toner alongside him with Ian Henderson first off the bench.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Dev for that set piece security, James Ryan and Hendy for that impact off the bench. The likes of him and Sean Cronin coming off the bench is huge and incredible impact. But then if Hendy wasn't there on the bench, then Beirne can add that. And unfortunately for Kleyn, sometimes you're just not really an impact player to come off the bench, and we not to say Kleyn's anything like Mike Ross, but myself and Mike Ross, we probably wouldn't add much impact off the bench. We'd be good for 50, 60, 70 minutes. But then sometimes guys don't come into the equation for a bench spot. They're either a starter or they're not. They're not in the squad, and maybe that's the position Kleyn would be in.
Mike, thanks a million. We'll catch up to you again over the next few weeks.
And of course, Ireland could go number one at the weekend.
Yeah.
If Wales and England draw and Australia beat New Zealand.
Do we want that?
Thanks. Sorry?
Do we want to be number one?
Oh yeah, I think of course we do. It'd be
Definitely.
nice for Dev sitting in the side to see that sitting number one. So.
Come on, take it easy. See you, Mike McCarthy on the line.